All right, hey, tax season is upon us, and listen, I don't want you to pay more in taxes than you need to by the way of interest and penalties simply because you missed some important tax deadlines. I mean, it's completely avoidable. So in this video, what I want to do is give you 6 important tax deadlines so that you can mark them on your calendar. I'll also give you some tips on how to prepare, whether you're an individual, LLC owner, or S Corp owner, and go over some penalties if you fail to meet these deadlines. But really quick, before I dive in, I want you to know 2 things. Okay, number 1, I'm going to give you these tax deadlines in chronological order, and you can find the timestamps down in the description below. And number 2, if you are self-employed or you are an LLC owner, then my company may be able to help you out with tax preparation or tax planning. Please click the first link down in the description below if you would like to learn more about our services. All right, let's go ahead and dive in with number 1, estimated quarterly payments due on January 16th. So you need to make quarterly estimated tax payments if you are self-employed at any level, whether you are a sole proprietor, single member LLC, partnership, or even some independent contractors, unless you're having your taxes withheld for you. Now, hopefully you've been making these payments over the last quarters as well, but don't forget that the 4th and final payment for 2022 is due on January 16th, 2023. And if you are new to paying quarterly estimated taxes, then you can just Google a free calculator that will walk you through how to calculate them for you, or reference IRS tax form 1040-ES. Once you've figured out how much you need to pay, then simply go to irs.gov/payments, log in, and select make quarterly payments to take care of it. Also, it's important to note that if you are W-2 and you're watching this video, you don't need to make any estimated quarterly tax payments because your employer pays taxes for you. Now, the next tax deadline you should be aware of is number 2, information tax returns due on January 31st. So if your business has any employees, then you need to make sure they get a copy of their W-2 form so that they can file their taxes. You must fill out 2 copies. You have a form W-2 and a form W-4. One is submitted to the IRS and the other is sent directly to the employee, usually by mail or online, and the deadline for both is January 31st, 2023. On the other hand, if you are primarily hiring independent contractors, then you need to send them a 1099 NEC or a 1099 miscellaneous form. And once again, copy A is sent to the IRS and copy B is sent directly to the contractor. These both are submitted by January 31st as well. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do this for your business, then I would highly recommend trying out a platform like QuickBooks and adding on one of their payroll services. It's personally what I use for my businesses, and they generate these forms and filings on your behalf. And I definitely love this because growing up in an old school tax business, we used to have to manually make these forms by hand. So what I'll do is I'll put an affiliate link down to QuickBooks in the description below so that you can sign up and give me credit for recommending it. Okay, tax deadline number 3 is tax return deadlines for partnerships, multi-member LLCs, and S corporations. So business owners who are a part of these entities have less time to file their tax return. The deadline to submit these tax returns, which are tax return 1065 and 1120S, is due by March 15th, 2023. Now, it's very important to note that these are information tax returns and you don't actually pay any taxes on this date. Rather, this is when you file your tax return. Okay, let me repeat that. You don't pay taxes on March 15th, but you need to file your tax return and send it to the IRS by March 15th. And once you file your tax return, usually you'll receive a K-1, which shows your share of your partnership or S corporation income, and then that is what is reported on your personal tax return, which is usually filed in the next month. Now, if you are a single member LLC, you don't need to do anything on this day, and I'll share when you need to file on the next point. But before I move on, you should also know that March 15th is the deadline to file any extension if your business needs more time. But that doesn't mean that you will avoid late filing penalties, so it's better to be prepared and file on time. Now, the next deadline is the big day, and that's number 4, April 18th, 2023. First off, there's another estimated quarterly tax payment due on April 18th, which is the first payment you will make for the 2023 tax year. Second, on this date, individual tax returns are due. This is the tax deadline for every U.S. taxpayer who is required to file Form 1040. So of course that applies to people who are W-2 employees and receive a W-2 form, business owners of partnerships and LLCs who will receive a K-1 form, independent contractors who receive 1099s, and single member LLCs who may not receive any forms but will file using Schedule C. And usually this includes federal and state tax returns due by April 18th. Also, if you are an owner of a C corporation, then you would also need to file your tax return by April 18th. However, C corporations can change their fiscal years, so there are some ways to shift the tax payments. Now, it is very important for business owners to remember their bookkeeping needs to be in order so they know exactly how much revenue, qualified tax deductions, and overall net profit to report on their individual tax return. And so if you wait until the last minute to get your books in order or to file your business information tax returns, then you are likely going to miss the individual tax deadline to file, because those things are very difficult to tackle correctly without the adequate amount of time. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 5, which are summer deadlines. So there are 2 more estimated quarterly payments to make, which fall on June 15, 2023 and September 15, 2023. We've already talked about how to take care of those, so make note and make sure you do that. Okay, moving on to number 6, I have strategic tax planning. Now, once you take care of tax preparation for the year, then usually by mid-summer or late fall, you'll want to do some tax planning. This is where business owners can take some time to think through their process of figuring out how to possibly minimize their tax liability for the next tax season. That means taking some time to look at ways to, optimize your entity structure, like maybe it's time for you to convert your LLC into an S corporation or maximize some deductions. Maybe you need to purchase some business assets like a vehicle, or look at some legal tax loopholes that currently exist, or doing some retirement planning, or maybe researching some business tax credits, and a lot more. You don't want to wait until the next tax bill to figure out what you should do, because then it's already too late, because the tax year will be over with, and you create a tax plan the year before tax season starts. And so once again, that's something that we can help you with. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to number 7 and talk about what happens when you pay and file taxes late. Well, you already know you're gonna get hit with penalties and interest, so let's just talk about how much. So beyond your tax due date, you have to pay what is called a penalty for late payment. This is calculated by taking your total tax liability and multiplying it by 0.5% every month until your tax bill is paid. For example, if you owe $1,000, then each month you're going to pay $5 in interest. The interest goes up to a maximum of 25%. So that one's actually not that bad, right? Well, the late filing penalty is much worse. It's calculated at 5% for all your unpaid taxes every month. So for example, if you owe $1,000, then you would pay $50 in penalties each month with no cap, which means it is better to file your tax return and pay your taxes a little bit late than to completely avoid filing your tax return at all. Now, if you are someone who had your head in the sand and you haven't filed your tax returns for many years, then there's still a little bit of hope, okay? You can call or reach out to the IRS and simply ask them about their Fresh Start program, where they negotiate with you and put together a plan that will help you pay off your taxes. All right, so hopefully you took some notes, or you just saved this video so you are prepared for this tax season and this tax year. If you like this video, then do me a favor and like the video for the YouTube algorithm. That way other business owners like you can prepare for this tax season. Coming up next, I have 2 more videos you may enjoy as well, so check those out if you haven't already, and I'll see you over there.